Now let's go through each one of the chapters so you can see how they're organized firsthand. Notice on page 11 for chapter 2, we're focusing on narrative writing. You have your organizers and stages for stages 1 through 8 in this chapter. Page 12 and 13 begin with the at-a-glance organizers. These are, depending on your stage and grade level, you'll have an identified organizer that you will use to teach your kids how to write a narrative. Under each one of these stages, you will see not only the organizer, but also what content will be in those organizers. So stage 1 is going to be a story opening for a narrative, and that's going to be 1 sentence. Jump to stage 2, that will be a story opening with actions and a story closing. So the content of this will be sentences and a paragraph, and this is what the organizer will look like. As you go up each stage, you will see the different organizers and then the descriptor of the content. Page 14 in the narrative chapter starts with stage 1 writing, identifies that this is for grades K1, and then we have our descriptors of what this 1 sentence level will be. What in content and organization is this stage 1 going to have? It's going to include a story opening with a character and an action, and the picture is going to match that story. The sentences will have 1 complete sentences, and adjectives are optional. Mechanics, you're going to have the beginning of the sentence and capitalized and the word I capitalized. You'll use end punctuation, spaces between words, letters printed correctly, and snuggled in words. So just as an example of up here, these are the descriptors of what you're looking at in your writing. Kindergarten, you're going to be forming your sentence and drawing a picture to match. First grade, you're going to make the organizer to plan your sentence and then write it out. This is what the student work would look like. If you go on to page 2, again, you're going to see content and organization, sentences, mechanics as your descriptors for stage 2 of writing, which matches up to kindergarten and first grade. Down below, you'll see the kindergarten sample writing, a first grade organizer, and sample writing. Stage 3 is for grade 1. Again, the same setup, descriptors, organizer, sample writing. Stage 4 is for grades 1 through 3, descriptors, organizer, sample writing. And this continues on through stage 5 for second and third. Notice on this page, and this is very important for you to see, that we have the personal narrative writing at stage 5 and imaginative narrative at stage 5. So depending on the type of narrative, you'll need to go to one or the other page for stage 5, grades 2 and 3 for your assessment purposes. Stage 6, grades 3rd through 6th grade, you will also have for stage 6, personal narrative and then imaginative narrative sections. So you have to decide what type of narrative do the children write. If it was personal narrative, you'll look at this page for the organizer, descriptors, and sample writing. For imaginative narrative, you'll look at the stage 6 descriptors, organizer, sample writing. On page 22, we have stage 7 for narrative writing. This is for grades 4 through 6. And again, here's our descriptors. And then we have our organizer. Now notice on stage 7, personal narrative and imaginative narratives use the same organizer regardless of whether it's going to be personal or imaginative. And then on the facing page on page 23, you will find your sample of writing. Page 24 and 25 will end. It's our final stage of writing, and this is for grades 5 and 6. Just like the previous stage, whether it's personal narrative or imaginative narrative, you're using the same organizers, you have the same descriptors, and then over here we have a sample piece of writing. Chapter 3 is going to be organized exactly the same way as the narrative chapter was. We'll begin with at-a-glance organizers so you can see all the different organizers, and now notice we have 11 stages for informational writing. Now let's go through chapter 3 to see the organizers and each stage of writing. We begin with our at-a-glance organizers. This is on page 28, 29, 30, and 31. 28 and 29 has stages 1 through 6. Notice you have your stage, your grade level, the organizer, and the content in that organizer. So if I was going to jump over here to stage 6, my grade level is 2nd and 3rd. It's a description organizer for informational explanatory writing. This is what the organizer looks like. And then down below, we have our content, what would be in this specific type of writing. Page 30 and 31 end our at-a-glance organizers. And again, we have our stages and grade levels, the sample organizers with what content is in each one. And that goes all the way up to stage 11, where we have our 4th through 6th grade writing. Now we begin a detailed look at each stage of writing in the informative explanatory chapter. We go to stage 1, we have our grade level, K1. We have descriptors of what is in that grade level. So we have our content organization, descriptors of what the sentences should have, and what mechanics should be at this stage 1 for K1. Down below, we have our kinder organizer, sample writing, and the 1st grade organizer, sample writing. Please note, kinders, developmentally, for kinders to make an organizer is inappropriate. So in this activity, they would write their sentence and then draw their picture afterwards. On page 33, we have stage 2. Stage 2 has the descriptors, kinder and 1st grade organizers, and sample writing. Again, kindergarten, this was an organizer that the teacher made and then the student wrote out. 1st grade, the students made their own organizer and wrote it out. And each grade thereafter, they'll make their own organizer. Kindergarten is just a little different. Let's go on to stage 3, grades 1 through 3. We have our descriptors, sample organizer. Stage 4, grades 1 through 3, descriptors, sample organizer, and student writing. And this continues through, so I go through pretty quickly now, stage 5 for 2nd and 3rd grade. Stage 5 and 6, 2nd and 3rd grade, we have our paragraph writing here. Stage 7 for grades 3 through 6, we have paragraph writing, but now we've added more sophistication to those paragraphs. And then we have page 40 and 41 for stage 9, where students will be writing thesis statements or inquiry questions. Stage 10 is an advanced multiple paragraph essay with an introduction, body, paragraphs in the middle with the body, and a conclusion paragraph with descriptors, what the organizer looks like, and a sample of student writing. Stage 11 is for grades 4 through 6. This is when students are going to add cause and effect, compare, contrast. So if you notice on page 44, this is for a compare, contrast paper. We have our content, we have our organizer, and our sample writing. Page 45 is for cause and effect paragraphs, and we have our organizer, descriptives, sample writing. Page 47 begins chapter 4 for opinion writing. Again, we will begin this chapter with the organizers students will use, and for opinion writing, we will have stages 1 through 7. Let's turn and see what the organizers look like. Page 48 and 49 have the at-a-glance organizers for opinion writing for grades K through 5. As we start, we always see stage 1 and then the grade level, what the organizer looks like, and what content would be in that organizer. Let's move on and look at each one of these stages in detail. Page 50 has stage 1, the grade level K1, our descriptors for content organization, sentences, and mechanics, the organizer, and then the sample writing. If you look at stage 2 on page 51, grade levels K1, the descriptors, the organizer, the sample writing. Page 52 and 53 have the same exact organization. Page 52 has stage 3. You have your descriptors, the organizer, sample writing. Page 53 has stage 4, descriptors, organizer, sample student writing. And this continues as we head to stage 5, where we have our grade 2, 3, our opinion paragraph. Now notice there's 2 pages here showing stage 5. That's because here we have an opinion paragraph about a text, and then on page 55 we have an opinion paragraph about a topic. So this is more like your response to literature opinion. And this is where we're going to have an opinion about typically information, about a topic. So on this page, we formatted our opinion writing, and we also have our organizer and then a sample of student writing. On the next page for information for opinions, again, you have your descriptors, but then we have our organizer and then a sample of student writing. Page 56 and 57 both show stage 6. Just like in the previous pages, this stage requires 2 different pages. That's because on page 56, this is an opinion about a story, which is more like, again, the response to literature. And on page 57, this is about a topic that you're having an opinion for. So we have our descriptors of what should be in the content and organization of a response to literature, the opinion about a story, the sentences, and the mechanics. Over on page 57, we have our content, organization, sentences, mechanics, but this is for a topic, more for information. Down below, we have our organizers and our sample of writing. So there we have our stage 6. Stage 7 on page 58 and 59, you will notice you have your descriptors, and these descriptors are for an opinion essay, and this can be for a topic or for a text. So this can be for a response to literature or an opinion about topic. You have your content and organization, what should be in the sentences, and the mechanics. We have our sample organizer, and then over on page 59, a sample of a student essay for an opinion writing. Chapter 5 is for argumentative writing. We will begin with our organizers, and then we will move to stages 8 and 9. Notice it says 8 and 9, not 1 through 9. And the reason for that is chapters 4 and 5 actually bridge together, because when you look at the domains of writing, according to the Common Core State Standards, K through 5 is opinion writing, and then it moves to argumentative writing when you hit 6th grade. So that's why I have stages 8 and 9. The opinion ended at stage 7, and then we'll continue in that domain with 8 and 9, but now it'll turn into an argument. Let's look at the setup of this chapter. On page 62 and 63, we have our at-a-glance look at the organizers, stage 8 and stage 9. Both are for 6th grade. We have our sample of what our organizers look like, and then the content, what should be in those organizers. Stage 8 is more at a paragraph level. Stage 9 is an essay where you have your introduction, body, and conclusion. So again, we have our organizers and the content. Now let's look at each one of these stages in detail. Stage 8, again, grade level is 6th grade. We have our descriptors, what content and organization should be in this paragraph, the sentences and the mechanics. We have our sample organizer filled in with the writing. On page 65, we have our argument, which is stage 9, grade 6, your descriptors, your sample organizer filled in for an essay. And then on the very next page, page 66, you have your sample student writing. Notice works cited are included as well at this stage. This concludes my Nancy Fetzer's K through 6 program overview and assessment guide. Remember, this overview includes all my writing organizers from K through 6. It also has descriptors, student samples of their plans, as well as their writing samples. You can use this guide in order to assess your students' writing, to articulate at grade level and across grade levels.